It appears the Mariners are pivoting off of Mitch Garver as their backup catcher for 2026 and moving on to Andrew Knizner. But what's funny is that the Rangers did the exact same thing after they won the World Series. Welcome to the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. Got my Coug Mariners jersey on because the Cougs did get a new head coach today. Shout out to Kirby Moore, Washington native. I hope he does excellently. But we're here to talk about Andrew Knizner for the second time. Today, I guess it's now Saturday morning, but you guys will be seeing this on Saturday. And yesterday's news, Andrew Knizner looks like he's going to be signing with the Mariners and be the backup catcher in 2026. What's funny is that the Rangers, when they won the World Series in 2023, they had Garver as their backup catcher, who also was DHing a lot because he was so effective against lefties in their lineup. But after that, they let him walk, sign with Seattle, and then pivoted to Andrew Knizner. And I know you're probably thinking of clicking off this video because I'm not going to say much, but just listen to this one thing. Andrew Knizner hit 307 with a 137 WRC plus in the second half of 2025. If that doesn't surprise you, go ahead and click away. If it surprises you, then you might want to stick around and hear what else I have to say and see why the Mariners plus Andrew Knizner is a perfect fit. So starting off, we've got 103 days till opening day, 69 till spring training games, and 60 till pitchers and catchers report. Andrew Knizner, and Jerry Dipoto and the Mariners catcher whispering strategy. I mean, what is it? Is part of it Dan Wilson, definitely. Is part of it, just having somebody like Cal Raleigh, definitely. But what really is going on with the Mariners where they're so good at whispering catchers? Andrew Knizner, you see a whole lot of stuff just looking at the Baseball Savant profile, looking at the fan graphs, looking at the baseball reference, looking at the stats. But just know what you won't see from most people today, and especially in Mariners Twitter, is that this dude just hit 306 with a 137 WRC plus in the second half of the year this year, and is entering his prime at age 30. Now, it took me a while. I did a whole breakdown yesterday, an 18-minute breakdown on Andrew Knizner, and I didn't even know that he had those type of stats in the second half of the year. No matter how I looked at it, the offensive numbers just were not that good. Were not that great. I detailed why the profile is kind of interesting, but I didn't realize that he had these type of stats in the second half last year. So he was incredible. He was fighting an incredible stroke at the plate, and it's more than just nothing. Anyway, the Rangers replaced Mitch Garver with Andrew Knizner right after winning the World Series. So that tells you something. In 2023, Texas Rangers won the World Series with Mitch Garver as the backup catcher, who also hit well enough to play a lot of DH for them. In 2024, they let him walk and become a Seattle Mariner, and replaced him with Andrew Knizner, who the Cardinals had recently non-tendered to make room for up-and-comers Pedro Pages and Ivan Herrera as Wilson Contreras backups. In 2025, the Mariners were mere innings away from the World Series, with Mitch Garver as the backup catcher. In 2026, they are letting Mitch Garver walk, which we thought would be to make room for up-and-comer Harry Ford as Cal Raleigh's backup, but now have replaced him with, you guessed it, Andrew Knizner. Now, a few things that I've seen that I actually, I'm not going to inundate you with any of the Mariners fans who are, too positive, too negative, whatever it is, but I'm just going to tell you some interesting things that I saw. Catching specific dude loves this move. This dude kicked dirt baseball, so shout out to him. A guy who literally just covers the sport from a catching angle. He loves this move. So if people who are covering catching for a living love this move, that's a good sign, right? He had his first child in October, and he chose his child's middle name as Lewis, as a nod to making his MLB debut in St. Louis, despite being non-tendered by that organization. He was a fan favorite there, and clearly he loved him a lot too. First of all, it's like this dude lives and breathes baseball. He's naming his child's middle name after the city that he made his debut in. Even though he was non-tendered there, it shows, great type of respect, and where he understands how respect is given and taken and stuff. That's really interesting. He understands the real world and how this stuff goes, and also becoming a father is something that the Mariners value highly. When Dan Wilson was talking about, in his little speeches during the postseason, when we're winning and stuff. I mean, he thanks the wives constantly. Um, I can't remember. I mean, I think that a lot of these guys in the organization, though, Jerry Dipoto, Justin Hollander, they talk about their families, their wives, and they talk about being fathers. I mean, Josh Naylor, that was a thing. And when Justin Hollander went on 710 recently, he was talking about Josh Naylor becoming a father, how himself being a father and being a husband, is a huge deal for him. So, I mean, this guy has not played in the MLB while having a kid yet. So, I mean, there is the idea of dad strength, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it definitely is cause for excitement and optimism. That's via his wife's Instagram. Anyway, there's a Twitter thread on his defensive development from a former MLB player development staffer in 2024. So this is from 2024, this thread. But this guy, Adam Nalawashko, not sure exactly how to say that name, but anyway, he was a former White Sox player development staffer. And so he has a really good thread here breaking this down. I highly suggest you scroll through it and just take a look, because he's analyzing exactly how this guy is bringing the glove up to frame pitches and stuff. But he said this guy has been the most improved catcher in baseball, and this is back in 2024. So, I mean, what we were looking at earlier with, the knee down and all this stuff, this guy goes into a much, much greater detail than I did. But clearly there is something there. His framing metrics have gone from well below average in 23 to well above average this season with the Rangers. That's in 2024. So what has he changed? And he goes way into detail. Go ahead and peep this. I'm going to try to post all these links in the description too, so if you want to go check them out. And specific changes also aided by Rangers catching coach Bobby Wilson, who has coached multiple Gold Glovers, is highly regarded, apparently around the industry. Then there's just two videos that I'm going to post. I'll post these so you guys can watch them. But Knizner tripling at the end of the regular season this year. That one's going pretty viral. It's part of his ridiculously hot second half, but you can just watch his swing and watch the way that his base running, like we said, is sneaky good. Maybe he's not fast, but he is a good base runner in spite of that. He's barely below average, so he's good at the art of base running, despite not having the sprint speed. That second half was hotter than any of us realized. Oppo Taco from spring training 2 years ago, I saw from a Rangers status, and there's a little, just looking at the swing itself, not looking at, how I projected or anything. And again, when I'm talking about mechanics, sitting in this chair, it's not going to be the most reliable thing, and we know that. But a little bit of Garver to the swing in terms of the axis, where it feels like it's almost a golf swing, where it comes way down and it's totally on this axis. It just has that Garver-ness to the swing, and if you watch it, I think you can kind of see that. You put them side by side, but it's a little more athletic, and definitely younger. This guy did play quarterback in high school, for what it's worth, and his dad did play quarterback at Penn State. There's some interesting stuff there. And then I watched this one Grand Slam of his. I was just watching way too much Andrew Knizner stuff tonight. And based on broadcast call on this Grand Slam, they say that he came into that game as a pinch runner for Nolan Arenado. So the Cardinals did have three catchers for a lot of these times, right? As I mentioned, they had Pedro Pajes, Ivan Herrera, Wilson Contreras, this guy back to Piatti as well. And anyway, the Cardinals had three catchers a lot, so they were able to do that. But they were putting this guy in as a pinch runner. I mean, when have you ever heard of a catcher being able to be used as a pinch runner? So experienced as a pinch runner, maybe he is a trustworthy base runner. I'm not saying he's going to be an above average base runner, but maybe he is a trustworthy base runner. He also did regular Tuesday appearances on St. Louis Sports Radio. And the channel, if you want to look it up on YouTube, is called STL Sports Central. And then there's also, they're on, I think, FM radio in St. Louis. There's two specific ones that I want to talk about here. And the first one is when they talked to Andrew Knizner, it's his last appearance on this radio show, doing a Tuesday radio appearance, which, by the way, Seattle Sports Radio, think of all the weekly radio appearances we have from different guys. The Dan Wilson show, the Jared Poto show for the Seahawks, the Mike McDonald show, used to be the Pete Carroll show, the John Schneider show, all these different shows that they do. And I mean, Andrew Knizner had his own show on the Cardinals radio stations. That definitely counts for something, even if we're not sure exactly what it is. When he talked to them for the last time after getting non-tendered by the Cardinals, so they straight up just said, "Hey, we're not going to pick up your contract, and not going to get anything for return for you, but not going to pick up your contract." He shows an excellent human side there. I mean, you just get to hear the guy talk, which you aren't going to get to do, by looking at other people discussing him on Twitter or stuff like that. And you might not get to do until, he comes on Seattle radio and stuff, but we can kind of get ready for that. They ask him, "What's next for you after getting non-tendered?" He says, "I don't really know, to be honest. I've never been in this position before." Just a great, matter-of-fact, very human, approachable almost guy. And you can hear how much the radio hosts love this guy. Like, I'm not just saying that. You go listen to this. It's only like, the actual interview with him is like 6 minutes long, and then I think they go on for another 8 minutes about how much they love the guy or something like that. They also, one thing they mentioned towards the end, it's very substantial, is he's the guy the pitching staff loves and goes to for extra info on upcoming batters. Now, you might think this is anybody, but this is like the good defensive catchers throughout the league, the best backups throughout the league. Think of Austin Barnes with the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's what this is, just what it sounds like. And clearly he's a fan and radio favorite. If you go listen to this interview, you'll see, you'll hear just how sad they are to lose the guy, how awesome of a guy he was to have around for them. Then there's another one where it's called Cardinals catcher Andrew Knizner explains the Wilson Contreras situation, where he explains eloquently just, what it's like to go through an 8-game losing streak and then a 2-game winning streak. And, this is like when Wilson Contreras got injured and he took over as the starter for a little bit, right? Just a little period. He got hot with the bat. He gives some really good insights that I gained something from listening to this, so I think you will too. And this one, again, is like 10 minutes or right around 10 minutes of, them talking to him. He also preaches one game at a time, and he does it really, really well from the inside look at a clubhouse. And that is, if you were watching this channel during the playoffs, change that. That is one of this channel's core values. Our channel's core values, I should be saying them every video, but want to know every pitch, which translates to one game at a time, one pitch at a time, one day at a time, whatever, right? Want to know every pitch, stay stoic, all glory to God. He seems like he exemplifies all these things extremely well. So my message to you, Andrew Knizner, is I would absolutely love to have you on the channel to discuss everything from this fascinating backstory to your excellent 2025 form to your upcoming Mariners career and to anything else you might want to discuss. You were excellent at radio appearances, I can tell just by listening to a couple, and I think you deserve to become a fan favorite in Seattle too. They deserve to learn what type of human you are, but you deserve that, really. And by the way, he's backed up Yachty, Wilson Contreras, Jonah Heim, when all three played at an all-star level, or did in years prior. Not to mention Patrick Bailey, when he won the NL Catcher Gold Glove in 2025. So the guys he's backed up have all had some success. Not to say that's something that he directly completely played a role in, but absolutely indirectly, and in certain ways he's somebody that is trusted with backing up premier catchers. Also, he became a catcher only in college at NCSU. He was a shortstop until he like a third baseman until at North Carolina State University he got moved to catcher, and it ended up paying off. He got drafted, right? Then this is the first time I've really ever heard of this school. Maybe, I can't say I really knew anything about North Carolina State University until now. But then I realized tonight that Patrick Bailey was drafted out of the same exact school. So, connections, man. You never know where they are, until you do way too much research. And then one last thing. I see some Mariners fans talking about Tom Murphy and, that maybe we should go look at Tom Murphy, because, and I think this is purely an emotional thing that people are saying. I love Tom Murphy too. Any Mariners fan who was watching when he was there, pretty closely, of course would. But he's older and has been injured a lot. and I'm not going to do a deep dive into him because I think those two factors just make it tough to look too closely at him as a serious candidate to be the dependable backup. Knizner is ready to put his body on the line this year to go win us ball games, and is at the perfect point to do so. Anyway, that is going to do it for today. Let me know down in the comments what you think of all this kind of human interest stuff with Andrew Knizner. You know, we broke down his stats yesterday, so if you have not seen my I do a huge profile of, you know, just a little bit of his backstory, then I go into his profile as a player, all the advanced metrics, all the StatCast stuff, you know, and hypothesize on why that stuff is the way it is and what the Mariners were seeing in that profile. And then we look at the stats for his career and for 2025 and see how, you know, why those are the way they are and what the Mariners could be seeing there. And, you know, we draw a conclusion of why we think the Mariners did this. So go watch that if you haven't already. Going to put it on the screen somewhere on here. And, yeah, let me know, again, down in the comments what you think of this signing. And what do you think the Mariners should do next? With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow on Sunday. And if you like the Seahawks, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and check out SeahawksWire.usatoday.com. I write for the Seahawks every day over there, especially on game days, post a whole lot of stuff. And one last thing I want to say is my heart goes out to all the communities in the state of Washington affected by the massive flooding that's going on. You know, you guys, we unite around our teams. You know, but obviously this stuff is bigger than sports. This flooding, you know, and I just want to say, you guys help Seattle unite around the Mariners. You guys help us unite. You know, when we need you guys for whatever the cause may be. You know, so I hope to give the little bit that I can, whatever that might be, back to you and say, you know, hopefully the Seahawks this weekend, the Mariners, in the upcoming year, you know, can give us some joy in spite of the, you know, all these, you know, tragic, devastating things that we might go through. You know, and thank you guys for uniting with us. I will unite behind you guys. I'm rooting for your communities the way that, you know, Mariners fans root for this team. With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Go Ams.